Delighted to share the news that the 2022 Frank Sander Award is going to be given to the wonderful Andrew Thomas. Andrew Thomas is the Community Relations and Neighborhood Engagement Director at the City Manager's Office in the city of Sanford, Florida. Andrew's worked for the city of Sanford since March of 2010, when he was hired as the Community Development Block Grant Coordinator. As the CDBG coordinator, he was responsible for coordinating the submission of the City of Sanford's CDBG 5-year consolidated plan that completed the city's requirement for entitlement community status for the Department of Housing and Urban Development. Prior to joining the staff, Andrew was an independent consultant on several projects for the City of Sanford Police Department. Andrew has 45 plus years of experience working in executive level management positions. This includes years of experience in program development, community and strategic planning, crime prevention planning, as well as nonprofit organization and board development. Andrew's career includes 10 years as president of his consulting business, Alt Associates, 26 years as executive director of the Center for Dispute Settlement, a nonprofit corporation responsible for court alternative dispute resolution services in a 10-county region of Western New York, and 4 years as Director of Human Services Planning for the City of Rochester, New York. Also, Andrew was a consultant instructor for the University of Maryland Legacy Leadership Institute on fundraising for nonprofits, where he conducted classes on best practices for community mediation centers and duties and responsibilities of small nonprofits board of directors. For 10 years, Andrew was a member of the faculty of United Way of Greater Rochester's African American Leadership Development Program. Andrew has worked with diverse populations and all levels of government designing peacemaking and dispute resolution processes in New York State and Canada, as well as having worked with delegations from Jerusalem, Nigeria, Australia, and Russia. Since 1999, Andrew has been a certified transformative mediator and mediation trainer for the United States Postal Service. Andrew has trained hundreds of human resources managers, attorneys, and mediators in transformative mediation throughout the United States and Puerto Rico for the USPS. Andrew was a founding member and first president of the New York State Dispute Resolution Association. In recognition of his contributions to the ADR field, in 2005, NYSDRA established the Andrew Thomas Peacebuilders Award, which is given annually. Andrew was also a founding member of the National Association for Community Mediation, or NAFCM. In response to the Trayvon Martin tragedy in Sanford, Florida, Andrew was tasked to work with the Department of Justice Community Relations Service to assist with facilitating the community dialogue sessions and designing a healing process to move the city of Sanford forward. To assist the city of Sanford in moving forward, Andrew authored the action plan for reuniting Sanford. Quote, one city, many communities, the 9-point plan. Andrew currently serves on the advisory board of the Ohio State University Moritz College of Law program on dispute resolution, their newly launched Divided Communities project, which I urge you to check out. The project aims to strengthen community efforts to respond to civil unrest with strategic positive action. This includes focusing on how communities can respond constructively to civil unrest, as well as how they can identify and meaningfully address the reasons underlying community division. In addition to the DCP project, Andrew also serves on the advisory board of the Valencia College Peace and Justice Institute in Orlando, Florida. Andrew's current certifications include Florida Supreme Court County Court Mediator and a trainer and mediator for the United States Postal Service. He's a member of several community development associations and alternative dispute resolution organizations, including ACR. During his career, Andrew has received numerous local, state, and national awards and special recognition for his work ethic, commitment, dedication, and contribution to executive professionalism. Also, he's been recognized for promoting community relations, human rights, social justice, and community peace-building processes. He's got a bachelor's degree in criminal justice from RIT and extensive graduate level studies in public administration, organizational development, and alternative dispute resolution. So please join me in congratulating Andrew Thomas, our 2022 recipient of the Frank Sander Award.
Good afternoon, and thank you, Colin, for that that introduction. Not sure what to say. As I shared with you earlier, I am just, I'm surprised, I'm amazed, and then my daughter told me, then you're Shamazed, Dad. So I'm Shamazed here. So just combining those two. It is an honor to receive the Frank Sanders Award. Having met him a few times early on in my career, so I know what he stood for. And to receive an award that's named after him is it doesn't get any better than that in dispute resolution. I could say that. But it gives me an opportunity to not only thank that nominating committee that reviewed the application, but whoever put my name in for consideration that thought I would be worthy of the recognition. So I'd like to thank them as well, thanking enough of the work that I have done in a field that I have a passion for, that it should be recognized. So I am so grateful and appreciative and honored to receive this award. That I have to think about in receiving the award and reflecting on my career in this field. And I have to go back and say there is one, I think, a common denominator for so many people that I have come to realize, and that would be Josh Stolberg. And Josh Stolberg is so significant to me because Josh, I go back and I remember when I was being interviewed for a position with the American Bar Association, the American Arbitration Association. And that was then for the Rochester Center for Dispute Settlement, and then it was the Dispute Settlement Center was its original name. And during the interview, and that's when I had gotten to meet Josh, got to know Josh really well, and was selected for the job. And it seems like probably a year, maybe a little less than a year, had the conversation with Josh in terms of what would the future be like, and what are you going to do with the center? I think the American Arbitration had made a critical and strategic decision that they were moving out of the community dispute field. So it became, incumbent upon me to say, what are you going to do with this? How is this organization going to survive? Now, mind you, I left a job with the city of Rochester, the director of community services, a wonderful opportunity. A year down the road said, you need to rethink this. So, but I will say, Josh, being the true trooper that he is, was there every step of the way. In terms of kind of putting the plan together, totally reorganizing the organization, doing some long-range planning, reorganizing a board. So just having to jumpstart this organization and say, so what are you going to do with it, and moving it forward. So I was fortunate enough again with Josh, and I tell you, the individuals I met early on, I think I was the third director of the center at that time. Josh was the first, and Ted Cantor was the second. So I was fortunate enough to have both of those that were still around. In fact, Ted had an office like 2 floors up from where the center was located. So I had them still around as mentors and advisors to decide and develop the strategic plan. I wasn't sure how long that was going to work. That was 1979 when I left the city of Rochester, took on the directorship at the Dispute Center. I was there until 2005. And during that time, watching the center as it continuously grew, and we expanded programs and far beyond where I ever envisioned it would go. And the kind of attention that we attracted. I can remember once in working with the Native Americans, it was the Mohawk Nation, and of course the First People, because it was on the Mohawk Reservation in Akwesasne that straddled the border of New York State and Ontario, Canada. and who came in one day and said there was a group that wanted to meet with you, and absolutely, let's meet. And they said, we've done some research and we're working on a peacemaking process, and we've watched what's happening here in Rochester, and they told us you're the one we need to talk to. I had never worked on the reservation with Native Americans, with First People. So it was an opportunity, and it was an education, an awesome opportunity, an education to go in and work with a community in distress and a community divided, to spend the time with them and learning what was their vision and what was their goal. And I have been able to, as I've gone through my career and noticed other situations that I have been in that has so much mirrored what was happening on the Akwesasne Reservation at that time. So I think back on that was an opportunity that if it wasn't for the dispute resolution field, I never would have had that awesome experience. Some of the countries abroad that I've had a chance to work with and designing their peacemaking process goes back and relates to my work in dispute resolution. And I thought that when I retired, and then I realized I wasn't retiring, I was retreading when I retired from the center in 2005 and decided we'd relocate to Central Florida. And I had this awesome vision of I would be on the water, I would be fishing, I would be enjoying the grandkids. And little did I know that as I sat down and I read the newspaper, and I continuously read the situations between the community, particularly communities of color, and I distressed communities with the law enforcement. And that prompted me one day to just get up, as I so often have done, and just reached out to the then chief of police in Sanford, and established a wonderful relationship with him. And it was Brian Tooley, who has since retired, and just said, I just can't sit around and watch and not try and get involved in doing something. And that's why I say retreading, because that phone call and that meeting with the then chief of police in Sanford started a whole new career path, brought me back into the workforce. I said, look, I'm comfortable. I'm a consultant. I'm a consultant. I'm not looking for a full-time position with the city of Sanford, but as I work more with the police department and working on diversity and inclusion, working with them on disputes with officers in the community, with officers internally, and designing that process with the Sanford Police Department. And that gave me an opportunity to have meetings with the mayor, the city manager, and the city council. And the more I met with them and worked with them, the more projects came along, until one day the then acting city manager, who said, the city of Sanford is growing, and the federal and Department of Housing and Urban Development, you have a term called an entitlement jurisdiction. And as an entitlement jurisdiction, that means that your community has reached a threshold of 50,000 people, you have an allocation that's available. I said, we're working on, because other than that, you're part of an urban county, so we're part of the Seminole County plan, but that gives you the opportunity to go in and directly apply. They said, would you be willing to do that? Naive as I was, thinking, sure, I'll do that, and we'll get that done. You'll have, and that was developing a 5-year consolidated plan, and I will step aside, and then you can take it and run with it. Well, once that plan, this was like 2010, and we got the 5-year consolidated plan developed, submitted it. HUD says, awesome, you're an entitlement jurisdiction. But didn't realize then what was a partner to the community development block grant was called the neighborhood stabilization. And the neighborhood stabilization, because we're in the midst 2010, as the housing market had just bottomed out, and throughout the country we had a lot of units that was in foreclosure and vacated. And the question, so there's another opportunity, can you write another plan for, and that was called the Neighborhood Stabilization Program, to stabilize our community. Let's get some federal dollars. We can purchase these foreclosed properties, refurbish them, put them back on the market, and we can do it at a real savings, you know. So I said, okay, I took that on. That was 2011, did the Neighborhood Stabilization, wrote a grant, got it funded. Now I'm into real estate, buying houses, refurbishing houses and putting them back on the market. Awesome opportunity. And as we're working through that program, along came the tragic death of Trayvon Martin. And again, that led to a turn in my work with the city of Sanford, because I was working and doing the community development, you know, doing what we can there, rebuilding infrastructure. Then we're doing the housing, working on housing. We're trying to get public services initiatives going. And when that came along, I had the question, what are we going to do? And as it turned out, we had a new city manager that had just came on board. This was February of 2012. We had a new city manager that came on in September of 2011. And just turns out, fortunately, he was a mediator as well. He had mediator training, graduate of Ithaca College, a fellow New Yorker. And as we was going through, and then in there, it was that divided community and struggling. So what are we going to do? How do we piece this together to move forward? And that led me into then when he got called me, because that was a law enforcement issue. I mean, it wasn't even a police shooting. It was a citizens on citizens incident and an unfortunate loss of life. But because of the long-standing issues with the police department in the community and the community of color, it quickly became the community of color versus the Sanford Police Department. And that was the shape that it took on. And for the first time, it had never been, swamped with, I think we had reporters from all over the world that descended upon Sanford. And the question, what were you going to do? And that put me, as I was asked by city manager and mayor, as they looked and said, you've got a mediation background, we need some guidance here, who should we bring in? And the city manager said, how do we get the Department of Justice? They had this community relations unit, we need them. And so that I was assigned then. So I had the community development, that neighborhood stabilization, and they said, we got to do some community relations. Well, you're it. So we've got to work on how do we bring this community back together. The community was divided. So I want to wrap this up, but this is all a long way of saying, going back to that interview with Jeff and meeting Jeff in 1979 and the opportunities that I have had in dispute resolution, I'd say, thank you, Josh. And he has been there. He's always just let me know he's a phone call away. So for this opportunity, for the recognition, for the award, I am deeply, deeply honored and appreciate all of you. Thank you.